This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, forgot to mention that.
I'm
D.
here.
Okay, very good. Got Corpusero, myself, President from Winchendon, Holly Ford,
Present.
staff, John Telepiak,
I'm here.
Vice Chairman, Laura Schifrin,
Here.
Treasurer, Linda Quinn-Livin,
Here.
okay,
Robert Schwartz.
Matthew Brenner,
I'm here.
okay, Peter Cunningham, okay, Rick Ward,
Alternate
Hello.
member here.
yes, and
Hello.
Barbara, we already have you, and Roger Hoyt.
Here.
And last but not least, Stacy Donahue. Well, I know she's here, so
I am here.
great. Did I miss anybody? I guess not.
What's
This
Schwartz?
is also good.
Dean
I did
Valier
get you,
from
Bob.
Dean Valier from Leominster.
Okay, very good. I guess I missed you on the list. Okay, and it was good practice, just muting and unmuting. Okay, very good. Next item is announcement. Does anybody have any announcements? Not hearing any. We'll move on to the approval of the March 25th, 2021 minutes. They were in the handouts if everybody or anybody had a chance to read them. If not, you can check them later and we can make corrections at the next meeting. Do I have a motion from anyone?
Yeah. I'll offer a motion that we approve the minutes from the meeting of March 4th, 2021.
Okay,
I'll
very good.
second
Thank
that.
you very much. It was Peter Cunningham and John Telepiak seconded. Okay, I'll
Excuse me,
call
that was
the roll. Going back from where I started.
it was March
Please.
25th that you have in front of you, not the 4th.
Oh.
I had said
yeah,
March
I will,
25th.
yeah, I'll amend my motion then.
To March 25th? Okay, very good.
Oh, hello.
Okay, yes, so I'm, my mistake, I'll amend my motion to indicate that the minutes from March 25th, 2021 for approval.
And I amend my second.
Okay, thank you,
to
Peter.
include that.
Thank you, John. Okay, very good. If there's no comments, I'll call the roll, starting with Stacy Donahue.
Excuse me, I have a question. Why was it the 25th instead of the first Thursday?
That was because that was when we had our accountant available. I think the 24th was the earliest we could have done it because he had to get all the paperwork. Glenn, can you speak to that?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. Barbara, I think that was you, if I heard correctly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, that was
No, that's
Barbara.
fine. Barbara, you're fine. No worries. No worries at all. So there's a requirement of what has been our cognizant agency, it's called. I won't bore you with the details, but when we do an audit, when we get audited every year, the audit document has to be presented to the commissioners, and then it has to be sent to Massachusetts Department of Transportation or MassDOT by, Brad, I guess the deadline's probably March 31st of every year. So by March 31st or prior, Brad, did I say that right?
Yes, March 31st.
Thanks, Brad. So basically, you don't want to have a meeting on March 31st. You want to have the meeting prior to that. Now, because of COVID, the auditor, like everybody else, is trying to just work as normally as possible through the last year, 13, 14 months. So things got a little delayed. The bottom line is that the auditor wasn't able to finish our audit, so we could have an audit presentation at the meeting on the first Thursday of March, which may have been March 4th, give or take a day. So we had a regular March 4th meeting, and because he just wasn't ready to present, so we had a special meeting March 25th to have the audit presentation so we could meet the deadline to get the audit into MassDOT by 3/31/21.
Understood. Thanks, Glenn.
Happy to do it.
And I just want to mention that meeting took place of our April meeting. So now this is, that's why we're here in May. Okay, if any other questions? Not hearing, I'll call the roll. Stacy Donahue.
I have to abstain because I didn't make the meeting.
Okay, Roger Hoyt.
Yes.
Robert Schwartz. Robert?
I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, very good. Peter Cunningham.
Yeah, aye.
Matthew Brenner.
Aye.
Laura Schifrin.
I also was absent from that meeting.
Okay, John Telepiak.
I was there, so aye.
Okay, in my list, I Corpusero, I was there, so I approve him. Dean.
I was not at the meeting, so I'll abstain.
Okay, very good. Barbara Yocum.
Abstain.
Okay, Ellen Butland. Elwin Butland.
Aye.
Aye. Alan Pease. I'm not getting anything from Alan, but I think he was not there, so I imagine he'll be an extension. And that's the roll for all the members. Okay, they are accepted unanimously. Next item we go to is the cash schedule. Laura, would you have a chance to speak to this, or would you like somebody else to take it?
No, I can do it.
Okay, very good.
So we have two before us this evening. We're looking at we're looking at the March 31st schedule with an opening balance in the end of February of $548,816.33. That would be the cash on hand. Then receipts that came in for the month were $101,323.52. With the cash before the warrant, we had $650,139.85. The warrant being $144,680.91 as expenses. And then the balance was $505,458.94. And that would be our balance for March 31st. Going to the April 30th cash schedule, we have the opening balance as the $505,458.94. And I'll just go through and say the total receipts were $131,166.02. So the cash before the warrant was $636,624.96. And the warrant was $180,621.51. So after the warrant is paid, we have cash on hand as the $456,003.45 to end April 30th. I did, just as a side remark, I did notice that it's evident from this that work is being done. We still have a lot of money and we still have a lot of projects with a lot of the towns. So I think we're in great shape. I would entertain a motion to accept the CAS schedule for March 31st and April 30th, subject to audit.
This is Barbara, so moved.
Second, Alan Pease.
Bob Swartz, second.
Does anybody have
Okay,
any
good.
questions? Okay, Guy.
Okay, if you'd like me to call roll, since there's no questions, but if you do have any, feel free to contact Glenn after the meeting if you think there's something. Okay, I'll call the roll. We'll start with Ellen Pease.
This is how I can.
Okay, I think that I didn't hear too well, but I think Alan was a yay. Lynn Butland,
Yay.
Barbara Yocum,
Yes, yay.
Dean,
Yes.
Guy Corvusera, the chair votes yes. John Telepiak, John, you with us? Oh. Then I'll move on to Laura Schifrin,
Yes.
Matthew Brenner,
Aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Yes.
okay, very good, Roger Hoyt,
Aye.
and again, Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
And the cash schedule, subject to audit, are accepted unanimously. Okay, now moving on to the next item on the schedule. Let me get down here. Slate of officers for the year 21. We have that listed on that committee. Does anybody want to speak to this?
Yeah, I'm happy to, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
So
very good, Glenn.
The nominating committee, just, it didn't happen this evening. What we're going to do is, but I'm going to give you a report on what we're going to do. So we're going to hold the nominating committee at 6:30 p.m. the first Thursday of June, just before the planning commission meeting takes place at 7. I believe John Chalevsiak, I think Peter, and I believe Sean Copeland are the 3 members of the nominating committee. So if you want to scratch that in your book right now, Monday, we'll send out a meeting notice and an agenda. And we'll have a slate to provide to the commissioners for June. So let me tell you the mechanics, so what's really going on. So we have 7 members on the executive committee, and that's what we're talking about, appointing or reappointing people. I reached out to the members, or they proactively reached out to me. So Guy, as chairman, said he'd like to remain as chairman. John indicated he's happy, Telefsiak remained, he's happy to remain as vice chair. Don't quiz me, I'll never learn. Laura Schifrin indicated, I believe, Laura, that you're happy to remain as treasurer. I don't know if you're happy, Laura, but I think you said affirmative. So, okay. And assistant treasurer, Roger Hoyt. Roger, this is a minor issue, but technically, I don't know if you're on the planning board right now or not, but I think you're going back on soon as an associate. Can you just clarify that for us?
Yes. First of all, my replacement has not been sworn in yet, so I guess my term is not ended. So I count for being here tonight.
That's fine. No
But,
worries.
I have submitted my letter of interest for associate member. And if I'm appointed and again selected as the rep, then I would be available to take one of those positions again.
Okay, and you show like you have interest. So I offline, Roger, I'll talk to you during the day, or we'll email about what slot is appropriate for you to pick and so on. So that's a separate conversation, Roger. I'll send you an email, okay? I have to take a vacation day tomorrow. I'll email you by Monday.
That's fine.
Okay, great. So that takes care of chair, vice chair, treasurer, assistant treasurer, because Roger's been serving our assistant treasurer slot. The secretary position remains vacant. It's the least lifting position we have. The bottom line is what the secretary does is when the MRPC management need to document a vote. We used to do this in the years past when we were doing more real estate work with our affiliate Montechusett Enterprise Center. We would ask the secretary to sign a clerk certificate or a secretary certificate documenting that a vote took place. And maybe in the old days, I don't know, I can't ask the department these questions anymore, but maybe in the old days they actually took minutes, but I don't know what they did in the 70s. But the secretary primarily, we need, clerk corporate vote documents signed occasionally. We haven't had that need in years. That leaves 2 member-at-large positions. Maribel Cruz has filled one of those slots and Phil Duffy the other. Phil's been a member-at-large longer than Maribel. Maribel is no longer an employee of the city of Gardner, so that would, she's an employee of a private nonprofit, actually the North Central Chamber of Commerce. So that negates her ability to be on the commission in the future unless she lives in Gardner and the mayor appoints her as his, it's a male, right? Nicholson, his representative. So she's not out of the running. I have to talk to Maribel about that. Last but certainly never least, Phil Duffy, who just chimed in. I saw his call letter somewhere. Phil, I believe, if I have it correctly, I see PD. I'm going to state it, Phil. I think you want to step down from executive committee. I think that's what you said, but you'd still like to be on the commission. Could you clarify or tell me if I'm wrong or not, sir?
Well, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Phil, and thank you for your service these past few years. So, and the last thing I would say about executive committee is you already heard me say we need to meet 30 minutes before the next meeting, first Thursday of June. We'll send out a notice on Monday. I need a meeting of the executive committee, the existing executive committee, all right? And I just named off, all the members. In the month of May, I want to go over the budget in greater detail. We've had a retirement from an individual. Linda Parmenter is retiring. She's been with the organization for approximately 42 years. There's obviously going to be a staff transition. We're going to have to take duties, roles, responsibilities, spread them around, and that means there's a chain of events that have to happen. I want to go into greater detail. I can answer questions tonight, but it's a long meeting tonight, and I want an executive committee meeting, if you'd be so kind. I will coordinate with a doodle poll. I would ask Holly to help us out with a doodle poll next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Holly, we can do something like that with the executive committee members and find a good time for everybody to meet and go over the issues that are related to her retirement, transition issues, and the budget and compensation. I'm recommending that staff receive a bump, but I want to draw in the salary, the compensation plan also, and go into a much deeper dive on that and talk to the executive committee members about what we should be doing for staff. They didn't get a raise last year. The compensation plan says some people are still underpaid. I want to just put all those issues out on the table and have a good meeting. We might need 2 2-hour meetings, but certainly a solid 1 good, healthy 2-hour meeting. The last thing I will say on that is we can do this via GoToMeeting. We don't have to do it in person. Later on in the agenda, you will see that I did ask the staff to volunteer if they're available, if they're capable, to come back to the office Monday, May 10th, and that a mandatory return date, COVID cases allowing, would be July 12th. So we're moving toward reopening. If the executive committee would like to meet at the office, we can arrange that. If you're not uncomfortable, that's fine. If we have a mix, we'll take your marching orders. That's all I have under this item, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Glenn, I do want to mention, hopefully you didn't scare off anybody that was thinking of volunteering. But as Glenn mentioned, we have 3 positions that we need people to fill. So it's not much work, contrary to what Glenn was saying. That'll probably be your one chance all year. So if you could step up, it would be greatly appreciated. Okay, very good.
Can I say
Next,
something to that?
yes,
Can I say something to that? Like I said at the last
Yes.
meeting, I think it's worthwhile. You know, many years ago, I joined onto the committee and served different positions, and you learn more, but it isn't a lot of work. The treasurer, yes, Laura can attest to this. There's a little more to that, but other than that, it's rare. But you have to have that committee, and they're very important. And once in a while, something comes up, but it's never burdensome. So you
Thank
guys
you.
who are there, guys, it's something you should consider doing. So let us know.
Thank you, John. If no other comments, we'll move on to the next item, which is administrative matters. And we throw that back to Glenn.
Mr. Chairman, item 5.1, I really already covered under the nominating committee, executive committee issue. Feel free to read it. We need to move toward reopening for a lot of reasons. One is collaboration, communication has been difficult the last year. The cases are slowing. The data shows that it's becoming more safe, and there are vaccines happening. So for a lot of reasons, you know, I sent out this email. You see it in italics there under 5.1 that Jason has in front of you, and I basically said, hey, staff, colleagues, coworkers, please, if you can go to the office starting Monday, May 5th, I'm looking for volunteers, urgent volunteer. But it's really a please and thank you moment, you know, from May 10 forward. Mandatory return July 12th. Now, obviously, if something happens, as I was sharing with a colleague today in a Teams video chat, if for some reason, you know, things turn upside down in the next 2 months between May 10 and July 12th, well, I'll keep monitoring data, and obviously I would change the mandatory reopening date. I'm trying to make sure that, you know, people can get back after the school year is complete. And as I said to a coworker today at the office, we had a quick Teams call. So for all the staff in the office, especially for those that have children, talk directly to your supervisor about a schedule that will work from May 10 on. If you can come in July 12 on, you will receive a lot of flexibility from your supervisors in transitioning back into the office. We have to return to the office. That has to happen. Just talk, just keep the lines of communication open. So I just want to send that message to primarily the staff that are in the room tonight. Feel free to share that with your coworkers. Okay, I'm not going to say yes to everything, but if you're reasonable and you're doing your 37.5, and I know everybody's doing that and more, you're going to get a reasonable response. Okay, so thank you all in advance. We will work with people. That's all I have on 5.1.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, please.
I'll go right ahead.
Yeah, just
Peter.
Glenn, is there any, well, I don't know whether you have a policy yet or you're considering it. What's the, I guess the position on employees being vaccinated or having vaccines?
So we don't have a policy.
Okay.
And I'm sending out an employee survey. I have to get it vetted with management. I'm still working on it. It's another window on my screen tonight, get it into a better draft form to share it with management. And I really wanted to get it out a week ago. I'm not a Survey Monkey technician, but a couple of items. So I'm asking the staff to contribute to, you know, their needs. It's anonymous. I don't want to ask any medical information in this survey or any other question. It's a violation of HIPAA, and I just have absolutely no desire unless the commissioners take a vote to tell me to ask or create a vaccine policy or a "Are you vaccinated?" question, then I'll do it. But with violations of HIPAA and lawsuits just flying around everywhere on the matter, I basically just have shied away from asking that stuff. It's
Yeah, I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just curious about it. It is somewhat of a hot button topic that's being kicked around, and I know the governor and the attorney general are sort of butting heads over whether requiring state employees to be vaccinated, going back to work and everything. So I just wonder whether the, you know, MRPC was considering that at all.
Not a vaccination policy. I will tell you that at your June meeting, the commissioners will have what I'm calling a hybrid work locations policy that will have flexibility in it to allow the staff to work at home, let's say a day a week. And everybody's going to have a different situation. Peter and everybody that's in the room, staff and commissioners and guests, here's the reality. You know, of the seven of the 22 people we have right now have children 17 and under. And realistically, they have, I don't know how they've done it. They have been doing homeschooling and trying to work, and, you know, kudos to all of them. They are going to continue, I assume, to have struggles with daycare, childcare, schooling, summer play programs, and so on. We have to be as flexible as we humanly can with everyone who has, maybe someone doesn't have children, but they have a medical condition. The bottom line is that we need to circle the wagons, work together, get our job done, but not beat up the employees and say, well, this is a factory floor and you're all back on July 12th, carte blanche, that's it. I'm not going to talk to anybody. Absolutely not. So I want to have a work, basically the mostly called work at home policies, but this hybrid work locations model, I just want to present something to you folks that allows whoever has the title of executive director, present and future, to be able to work with people to get through situations like this. The last thing I would say on this topic is that the Glen Eaton before COVID was deeply concerned about work at home. You know what? The experiment works, and Glenn was wrong. And I'm glad it's being recorded, because I'll look in the mirror and say, it works. So do it. And we're going to do that. And quite frankly, I think we owe it to the employees. They've done a tremendous job the last 13, 14 months. Thank you, Peter, for asking.
Yep, thank you.
Glenn, I just want to comment into that last statement you made about you're changing your opinion. I have two relatives that are vice presidents of large corporations, and they have also changed their opinion on a hybrid work at home. They didn't think it would work, but COVID has forced them to look at it, and they are very pleased that after a year that they will not go back to 100% in the office. There's just a comment in regards to that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next item, Glenn.
Jason, can you scroll down, please? Thanks. There's not much to say here, Mr. Chairman, under item 5.2, an update to the legislation. I won't reread the paragraph. It basically says, look, when you file legislation in Massachusetts, it takes 5 to 7 years to get through. So there won't be a lot of reports on this, because we're just going to watch the legislation as it meanders its way through the maze of the Capitol, Beacon Hill in Boston. So please don't expect a lot of activity or traction on this, but you'll hear it when there is. That's all I have on 5.2.
Okay,
So
no question?
Okay.
No.
Jason, can you scroll for 5.3? So, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I'll just keep rocking and rolling.
Please do.
Okay, 5.3 talks about the regional block grant program. We had a slow start, but the reality is that we're doing a boatload of marketing this week and next week for the Micro Enterprise Assistance Program. The DHCD, the overseers of this grant, increased the limit for the small businesses up to 5 people from 10 grand to 25 grand. There are a lot of entities in the Commonwealth that are struggling to get the money out the door. I won't go into the reasons now. I'm happy to answer phone calls, emails on this in the future. And the food bank operators in Lunenburg and Townsend, I spoke to them this week. They're going to be submitting 2 to 3 months worth of bills, and they've been doling out the food. And I spoke to Shirley, food bank operator, today. We're going to sign a contract by Monday and get that moving forward too. But the food bank stuff is working. The small business stuff is slow. And that's all I have on 5.3, Guy.
No questions? Please move on, Glenn.
I'm going to ask you all to read this after the meeting. You can certainly read it and pepper me with questions now. But if Jason, if what you're seeing on the screen now is basically, hey, there's a statute that says all agencies, all regional planning agencies should have regional policy plans. Well, before you do a regional policy plan, you look at all the disparate plans that you have that are related or interrelated, or, Brad and his people do the regional transportation plan every 4 years. We now do the comprehensive economic development strategy on the same 4-year cycle. Those are pieces of an overall regional policy plan. Why am I talking about that? Jason, could you please go down? There's a section that has some indentation with some paragraphs in italics, and that's fine. Anywhere in there is fine. So where you see the 1, the 2, the 3 that goes down, these are lifts from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. These are their goals. And I lifted that because generally speaking in planning, you talk about very similar things, almost the same thing. Item 1, partner with cities to promote regional collaboration. My question in italics, MRPC is, well known as an interdisciplinary planning entity, no longer focused on one or two planning disciplines. We're much more broad-based right now. And the top of the next page, page 6, it just says there, via locally funded contract, the growth of assessors planning, and so on and so forth, and green communities and environmental planning. So we have to do a strategic planning process, and I've peppered some of the meetings with trying to keep the idea alive. It's virtually impossible to do a strategic planning process unless you get everybody in a Zoom or a go-to-meeting room, commissioners and staff. It's just better in person. Trying to do this by remote control is just not going to work. So what I'm suggesting is when people are more comfortable, primarily commissioners and staff and then guests, come into the room, let's go to the atrium and let's hash out these things. What I've planted here or I've seeded with is, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those items come right out of the MAPC plan. So I borrowed from Mark Drazen's agency to plant the seed of a conversation that we need to have in the room at the same time. And some of my questions here are valid. 3A, we're reviewed as a service delivery organization. Are we seen as a partner of our cities and towns? Not by a lot. Yes, by some. So please read this. And ideally, the last item on this, whatever this is, 5.3 or 5.4, is assuming we're back in the office July 12th and everything worked, cases allowing, okay? Maybe we can just have a good meeting, a good kickoff meeting around the table about strategic planning at a date, time of the day, evening to be determined. It won't be one meeting, we'll need several. But we really need to do this when we're sitting around the table, safe, socially distanced. If you want acrylic, I'll put acrylic up, whatever. But that's got to happen this summer. I'm ready to go on to the next unless anybody has any questions.
I don't hear any.
Okay, Jason would be so kind. You're ahead of me, man. Thank you, sir. So 5.5 is the next one. So the draft budget. So typically what I like to do is, well, first of all, there's a statutory requirement that I'm sorry, I have to repeat every year in February, saying the state statute for RPA says you have to provide a statement of revenue for the upcoming fiscal year. So you'll see a draft budget, we call it, at the February Planning Commission. Between February and May, a lot of things happen. Things generally, they gel, they solidify a little bit better. And so what I like to do, last year we didn't do a May draft because COVID had just hit and the world was falling apart. But this May, I want to get back into the system. So you'll see a draft budget here, and I'm going to stay on this page for just a couple of highlights. In June, first Thursday in June, and that's why I keep saying first Thursday because I keep forgetting the date, we'll ask the commissioners to adopt the FY22 budget, okay, for the MRPC. I'll hit a couple of highlights, and these are highlights of the budget. Number one, we always go with a conservative budget, meaning 1A, low revenue, 1B, bare knuckle costs. They're actually very lean. Some costs are very easy to figure out. When you're given an insurance bill, and that insurance bill has only gone up 0.5 percentage point very rarely over the last 10 years, that's a really solid projected number in that particular line item in insurance. Holly, thank you. You just texted me. June 3rd is the next meeting. Thank you very much, Holly. On the salary side, there are some unknowns, but I can't credit the team enough. They've been doing great, especially under the COVID emergency. I've already planted the seed. I want to have an executive committee meeting because I want to revisit on behalf of the employees, I want to revisit the compensation plan. So we adopted the plan. That doesn't mean we adopted all the recommendations. I made one recommendation to get everybody up to the minimum on a certain page in the plan and a certain column. But then there's another page that talks about comparable ratios and market rate stuff. We need to revisit that. And what I'd like to do is have an honest, open conversation with the executive committee members and say, okay, if we do this, this means this. If we do this, this means that. And we need a deeper dive. And Linda Q, you and I will need to be at that meeting. And Linda Q, you and I are going to go over all these issues prior. So just be aware, so that nothing's going to come out of left field on anybody, staff or the executive committee members. But we are going to need more time, as I said at the head of the meeting, at the beginning of the meeting, because of transition or retirement. And that's the retirement of Linda Parmenter is a stone in the ripple of a pond, and it's basically like taking a rock the size of my head and a puddle this size. Okay, so there are a lot of implications with work responsibilities and funding and so on and so forth. So I would encourage you, please, to read more in detail about this later. Jason, if you'd be so kind to go down to, I guess, the table area, please, of the actual budget with the line items. We're not going to go through every line item tonight unless people want to.
Glenn, can I ask a quick question? Will we have comparables of what the other regional planning agencies are for different positions there?
We have data from past employee surveys that are a little dated. We can ask now.
Might be good to refresh that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I can ask. I do remember there's a spreadsheet in my mind's eye of every RPA that responded to a survey 4 to 8 years ago. And that's a great table because it's everybody's RPA in COG. And so that we can share, and we can always just Google the New England Consumer Price Index to get an idea of what they might be now. But we can ask also, we're happy to ask for updated data. And yeah, we can do that. Holly, if you would make a note that we'll send out a request, and we'll do that as a team, Holly and Linda. We'll make the request. We'll ask for updated data for an executive committee to be followed by a planning commission meeting. So yes, Peter, and also the compensation plan did a lot of that analysis, so that will be relevant. So to prepare for the executive committee meeting, yeah, we'll send out as much information as we can get from old, current, the compensation plan, and do a quick summary. Linda and Holly can and I work on that for the executive committee meeting, and then go into the budget meeting basically in 4 weeks on June 3rd, as Holly said. Jason, if you'd be so kind as to scroll down, there's a green word on here that says draft. Obviously, it's draft until we do an adoption. Jason, if you would go down to basically the bottom line on this table where it shows the total revenues, and then there's an overhead projection. And you're almost there. Okay, so if you would go just up a tad, please. Okay, there we go. Total expenses. So we're projecting about a budget of about $1.8 million. No one should get married to the total expenses or the total revenue, and especially nobody should get married to estimated surplus or deficit of 52,712,82. The reality is that these numbers will change another 100 times between now and June. What it says right now is it's a conservative budget on expenses. We've been conservative on revenue also. And by doing that, because here's the bottom line, folks. Why do we have a projected surplus? Because we've never had so many contracts in the last 13 years. And the revenue we have and the contracts we have are because of several things. Transportation went out and did competitive, and they got some more grants for the organization, did more contracts. Brian brought on a project for Mathol with local funds. Sherry brought in Tufts money and more MassDOT money. Planning and development is, we went from 3 people in planning and development to 10 in 6 months from the fall to the spring, because all of a sudden local contracts were increasing. People were asking us for repeat business, new business. Leominster out of the sky, thank you, Dean, and your people said, we need help with an open space and recreation plan. So all of a sudden, and the EDA CARES Act, that landed us $400,000 for over 2 fiscal years. So it was just like this perfect, wonderful storm of all of a sudden local, state, and federal, some because of COVID, some because of repeat customers, and some because of new customers, communities, local contracts. We ended up having a boatload of contracts. We've never had this many contracts that I've seen anyway in a couple of decades. But with budgeting, it's by definition an estimate. And what you do is, you have to watch this every month and every 30 days and every 90 days and to make sure that, okay, but we need a cash flow and profit and loss. Where are we going to be in 3 to 6 months, right? You got to look at the future and what's going to end. So what do you have to go and replace to make sure that you have level to keep the staff you have, if not increase staff, increase salaries, and so on and so forth. The projected overhead rate was the last thing I wanted to say. That's 1.130.45 or 130 and a half percent. So again, this is going to be a very different look, or somewhat different between now and the June 3rd meeting. And then Linda, can't say the Lindas anymore, so I'm going to give all credit to Linda Quinlivan. We want to revisit this and bring this as an update to the commissioners every 90 days. So when we adopt the budget in June, you'll probably see an update in August or September. I'm not sure, Linda, where we landed yet, but that's to be determined. And that's basically every quarter we need to revisit this. And I think the more effort we put into the planning of the budget will continue to be solvent and continue to be more sustainable. What the last thing I'll say is what concerns me is when you have a tidal wave of funding, tsunamis, they rip the water out from the beach. So are your legs going to be pulled out in front of you, out from under you? You always have to be aware, conscious, and see what's around the corner. So that's the last thing I have on the budget, if there are any questions.
Don't see any, Glenn. If you go on to 5.6.
Happy to do that. So this is where we're asking for an approval from the commissioners tonight. I will read and summarize this. So the hiring of a fiscal assistant approval requested or required. The retirement of the current administrative and human resources director as of this June 30, 2021 will create a gap in staff support that the current fiscal manager needs to implement all required financial operations, ensure compliance with relevant laws, regulations, and other audit compliance matters. Funding for the currently proposed part-time position will be paid with cost savings realized by the retirement of the aforementioned employee. MRPC's administration intends to A and B. A, hire a qualified part-time non-benefited fiscal assistant at an hourly rate of $23.69 for a maximum of 18.5 hours weekly. This is I did say non-benefited. Okay. B, however, while we want to go forward with hiring a part-timer, B says, place in the upcoming fiscal year's budget, which you saw under the previous item 5.5, an amount of $46,195 for salary and another approximate sum of $22,000 into the health insurance line item to be prepared for increasing this position to full-time status, in the case that the fiscal manager and the executive director determine at some future date that this should be a full-time position given the level of work required. So what it basically says is, let's start with full-time, put the money in the budget if we have to go full-time. It's there if we need it. If we don't, we don't spend it. The last paragraph in that report: position has been advertised and applications have been reviewed and at least one interview has been conducted. Staff will not proceed. Obviously, we've never done this. Staff will not proceed with the hiring of an individual for this or any other position without first receiving the approval of the commissioners. So we tested the waters to check the market. Linda, I can say in past, that recent past, they interviewed a candidate. We may or may not need to interview more. That's to be determined. And the resolution just below there basically is asking the commissioners for your approval to hire. Jason, could you scroll down a little bit, please, to see the resolution on the thank you, sir, which is almost a copy and paste of what's up there. Be it resolved, MRPC's management request. MRPC approves the management request and recommendation to hire a qualified part-time assistant, fiscal assistant, at an hourly rate of $23.69 for a maximum of 18.5 hours weekly, where no benefits will or would be provided to this part-time employee at this level of hours. So that's the motion that I would request action on this evening. Thank you.
Glenn, is the position part-time now or is it full-time?
So we don't have a fiscal assistant.
Got it.
We have the fiscal manager. We used to have a fiscal assistant position for many years. That stopped. Please don't quiz me. That stopped in 2012. Actually, it was the year of 2012. So with Linda, here's what's happened, Peter, and for everybody else. Linda Quinlivan came on in August of 18. Linda, I think I got a nod.
Yes, September of 18.
September of 18. So basically,
Yeah.
Linda has been with us for about 3 years.
Yeah,
We
almost.
didn't have the position of fiscal assistant funded at that time. Linda Parmenter basically has been working with Linda Quinlivan, joined at the hip, to, I'm going to say, be Linda Quinlivan's fiscal assistant, to help Linda Q understand the institution, how we operate, and, you know, be Linda Quinlivan's assistant. Linda Q, you want to say anything else about what Linda Parmenter has been doing the last 3 years?
Well, there was no one there to, to train me or to explain anything or to tell me how the whole operation works. So she was, she has such, great institutional knowledge, and she knows absolutely everything. Plus, she had been doing, the position was empty for 6 months. So she and Holly, I believe, were doing payroll and accounts payable, and they were trying to get things done. So she was already, somewhat familiar with it. So that's kind of how it went.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Linda, for helping out. I appreciate that. So with Linda P retiring, there's a vacuum, there's a void. We need a part-timer to help Linda Q. And when I mentioned earlier that with Linda P leaving, we had several meetings over the last month, the 4 of us, Holly, Linda, and myself, about Linda Parmenter had 3 pieces of paper, typewritten of all of her tasks, roles, responsibilities, duties under HR, human resources, under fiscal, and then under the third one that escapes me right now, human resources, administrative and human resources director. So we came up with a plan to designate who would do what going forward. And obviously there's a void in assisting Linda Q with Linda P's departure. So we basically are requesting that this position be refunded technically, because the position hasn't been funded since calendar 12.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, are you ready for a motion?
Was that Peter Cunningham moving the motion?
Yeah, I'll offer a motion. I'll offer a motion that we hire a part-time financial assistant as presented this evening, under the terms as presented this evening by the executive director.
Okay, very good. Do I have a
Second.
second?
That was me.
John
John
Telepiak.
Telepiak.
Do we have any other questions? Not seeing any, I will call a roll. Stacy Donahue. Stacy? Not hearing her, I'll go on to Jehoy.
Sorry, very slow with the mute. Sorry. I am here fumbling with the button. Aye.
Stand. Okay, Roger Hoyt.
Aye. Yes.
Rob Swartz.
Aye. Aye.
Phil Duffy. Peter Cunningham.
If you said Phil Duffy, I say aye.
Yep, Peter Cunningham, aye.
Peter Cunningham. Matthew Brenner.
Aye.
Laura Schifrin.
Aye.
John Telepiak.
Aye.
Okay, I saw him come off mute for a second. Guy Corbisera, the chair votes aye. Dean.
Valier, aye.
Minister. There, okay. That was eluding me. I was trying to be cool. Carver Yocum.
Aye.
Lynn Butland,
Aye.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
I see Alan's unmuted, but I can't hear him, so. Okay, I get you. Very good. And that's the roll. If I did not miss anybody, it's passed unanimously. Okay, very good, Glenn. If you could go on to the next item, 5.7.
Excuse me,
Okay,
Mr.
we're
Chairman, this is Peter Cunningham speaking, and I need to leave the meeting at this point. So wish everyone well, and we'll see you next month.
Okay, very good. You can send in your statement to join the executive committee later.
Yes, yes. Glenn will follow up. Thank you.
Put you on the spot.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're passing third, homes only 3 feet away.
Okay,
So-
very good.
5.7 is a
You can
withdrawal
move
of a
on, Glenn.
request. Okay. 5.7, hiring a principal planner, is the request for hiring is withdrawn. With the pretty intensive budget meetings we've had over the last few weeks, even though the proposed budget draft for FY22 says $55,000 surplus, I'm not comfortable with that requesting the hiring of either a principal planner for the Department of Planning and Development or a loan originator at this time. So I want to move more cautiously and conservatively as we go forward. That's it. It's a withdrawal. It's just more of a point of information. And then 5.8, other administrative matters. If commissioners want stuff on the agenda, please chime in this evening through the chair. Please email Holly or me. Thank you for your time.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Glenn. Any questions of Glenn before we move on to status reports? Not hearing any. I'll move on to status reports now. We have 4 different items that'll need approval there near the end, so I will run through the status report maybe a bit quicker than usual so we can get to those. First section, 6.1, graphic information systems, Mr. Marple and mobile apps. And again, please chime in if there's anything, and even if you're a little behind the schedule, chime in anyway, I can go back to it because of this mute problem that we all have. Community related in regards to GIS. Parker Pond Recreation Area trail mapping, Fitchburg trail maps for the field, Lunenburg Conservation land mapping, and Shirley parcel updates, Sterling Aquifer Protection Bylaw map, some of the great things that they're doing, Sterling's complete streets, and Westminster parcel updates. Nothing on those. We go to comprehensive planning related. 1, ADA compliance checklist survey creation. Athol Exchange Street butters mapping. Ashburnham zoning map updates. Hubbardston master plan land use. Leominster open space and recreation plan mapping update. That's a DLTA project. Townsend master plan mapping, also a DLTA project. If nothing within those, we go down to the transportation related in this section. Data collection and analysis program to collect data and analyze various data sources. Development of the TIP, program to develop the annual TIP. Fitchburg corridor study. That's to identify deficiencies along Route 12 corridor in Fitchburg. Unified Planning Works program. And we'll be coming back to that a little later for a resolution. Walkability study. Regional pedestrian plan. Well, if no questions on that, then we move into the transit related. MART G-Link maps. Project to create maps for the MART's individual G-Link routes. MART Human Services Transportation Brokerage Area map updates. MART Intercity Shuttle map updates. MART's moving a lot of things around because of this pandemic, pandemics.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment to this?
Yes, John.
I've been hearing a lot of complaints. I know it's an issue with, the changing of services and so forth, but I've heard from people, they have these shuttles that bring them, say, from Gardner to the Wachusett station, but, you go and the train, they drop you off and the train isn't for another hour and a half or so, because the shuttles have changed their schedule or the trains have stayed. They need to talk to each other. I mean, I've heard this from a number of people. I just wanted to throw that out. I guess I would have better luck speaking at the MPO meeting, maybe.
I don't know. If George was here, he could probably speak to it, but this is probably the one meeting that George isn't at. I see Glenn wants to comment on that.
If you want to make comments directly, MPO is perfectly a valid public meeting. I would recommend to anybody, if any organization you want to provide constructive criticism to or make a complaint, I would call that organization directly. I used to know MART's phone number. I thought it was the last four numbers were 7711. You'd have to Google the number for MART and just call them directly and send a letter, send an email. We have the emails of the leading officials for Mo and Bruno. So if you need to communicate directly with MART, I believe that would probably be the best course of action. But at any public meeting where it's relevant, feel free to speak at a public meeting. We live in a democracy.
I agree. It would be good to talk to MART, except MPO, you got a bigger audience that might have a little more clout.
That'd be a good thing. Yeah, for you to go there, John, and speak to
I'll
them.
gather some info. Thanks.
I know they're in.
Barbara, before you go on, I have a question. We have a housing production plan that Blair Haney is working on with the planning board. We have not yet approved it, so presumably it is still an ongoing project. I'm just wondering why that wasn't on the list.
Could you say that, Glenn?
Short answer is I don't know. The department heads are responsible to prepare their monthly reports. Brad does transportation, John does planning and development, Jason does GIS, and GK, George Colley does transit. So I can't answer the question. I don't have information, Barbara. I can follow up with John Hume and ask him, and I will do that.
Yeah, we're very close. We're currently reviewing the final draft, but it is still an outstanding project. And I haven't seen it listed for a while, so I'm just curious. Thank you.
Is there a GIS component to it?
There is not. I don't think so.
Yeah, we're on the GIS portion of the status report, so
yeah, but it's not. But I've read farther down. It's not,
okay.
It's not on the report.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't speak to that. I can only speak to the GIS.
Right. I thought since we were interrupted, I would also throw in an interruption. So. A question.
We love interruptions, so yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
You just wait.
Barbara, did you say it's an outstanding one or it's outstanding?
Yeah.
Just a little levity there.
Yeah, good one. No, it's very good. It's Shirley's first housing production plan, so we're very excited to be getting one. Thank you.
Great. Great. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on. We had the Mart intercity shuttle map update. The Mart Worcester Clinton commuter shuttle map. Now you now have a shuttle that goes from Fitchburg to Worcester. Okay. Then we move on to, if there's no more questions in that section, we go on to 6.2, planning and development. Comprehensive Planning Division, Federal Economic Development Administration, EDA, Federal Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, the Montechusett Regional Brownfields Assessment Program. Again, the funds have all been utilized, but they are always hoping for more. So if you have something, do it or put in for it. District Local Technical Assistant, DLTA. And in that we have Ashburnham again, Air, Hubbardston, Lancaster. These are all DLTA projects. Leominster, Neshoba Gateways, Petersham, Nickenwog, Sterling, Townsend. I don't see yours
Guy
there.
or Glenn. Hello.
Chief Schwaber.
The on page 21, the last item, Lancaster Village District Bylaw 40R Development. That's the title. Then it goes into Leominster Planning Board. So is it a Lancaster thing or a Leominster thing? Or am I misinterpreting?
I can't
Those
speak
two
to
those two are disconnected. The header obviously doesn't match with Leominster Planning Board. So I'll have to get you an answer on that, Bob. Everybody deserves an answer. That needs to be cleaned up. So let me find out what.
Want to bring it to your attention.
No, I'm glad you did. Thank you very much. I will email John on that. Appreciate that.
Okay, very good. Now, this is something that approval will be requested. Who wants to speak to this resolution, Glenn?
I can do that, Mr. Chairman. That's not a problem. So this is this would be the last request to approve community requests under the District Local Technical Assistance Program, or DLTA, for this technically fiscal year 21 funds, but it's program year 14 for calendar 21. Don't pay attention to what I just said. The bottom line is that we get a boatload of money, over $200,000 every January or December. We ask for approvals. We ask for communities to make requests for the DLTA services, and the 4 relevant requests that have come in for this third and final round of requests to allocate the final $40,000 to $50,000 under the DLTA program are for Shirley, Ashburnham, Royalston, and then a COVID-19 data dashboard. You can see what they are there. Feasibility study regarding 40R and Shirley, Ashburnham zoning map work. Sounds like your world. Jason, I'm assuming John or Karen or Blair might be working on that with you, I guess. If you want to speak to it, please feel free. You may not know, and that's fine. I don't want to paint you in a corner. Royalston continue working on a bylaw for assisted living. We had done some COVID-19 data dashboarding for Steve Curry, Health Director, City of Fitchburg, and the gist of that was that Jason did a great job. I think Kayla contributed, I'm not sure, to creating a data dashboard tracking COVID-19 cases. I can't speak to the details. Jason was intimately involved. I want to continue that. I've spoken to Steve Curry a few times over the past week by email. So for the first time ever, DLTA authorized use for basically health analysis, health planning because of the pandemic. How dare we not use some of our DLTA resources to continue to assist the health directors in the communities? That's why number 4 is there. So basically, that's the request. The resolution down below is, I believe, very long, but it basically says commissioners would resolve to, if Jason pans down just a little bit, sir, scroll down, I appreciate that. Basically approve the above four based on a bunch of conditions. The major condition is that these are services, these are not cash funds. This program is very heavily subscribed, and there's a condition in here that we are going to have a more serious discussion about communities applying for DLTA when there are other grant programs out there, and we want to work with the communities to pursue, for example, the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs Planning Assistance Grant, PAG. PAG will do a lot of this local planning. There's so much going on. COVID hit, and we're getting wonderfully assaulted with requests, and local money, state money, federal money is available. But we have to think long term. The PAG grant, we've been lucky to receive awards, I think 3 years in a row now. We're going to pursue them again. So there are other buckets of money that we deserve. We owe commissioners and local officials to educate you what they are, work with you in pursuing those funds, and complementing the DLTA, because there's more than DLTA. So we owe you more information on that. We'll do so in the future. But bottom line, this is the resolution to adopt the above four, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Glenn, I've got a question. Sorry, this is Stacy Donahue from Harvard. So if I know Harvard submitted 2 requests, if I don't see them here, does that mean that they weren't approved, or is there more DLTA funding coming down the line?
It means that planning and development didn't put them in the request, but basically you're here representing Harvard, and what we can do is just, if someone is willing to do a friendly amendment, or say to the 2 relevant Harvard requests, we can include them tonight, right now, Station, just take care of this and don't worry about the bureaucracy. So I would recommend to the chairman that when you seek a motion, sir, and a second, that it includes the 2 requests from Harvard. One is for agricultural planning, and Stacia, if you'd help me remember the other one, they were both eligible and relevant. I'm sorry, I don't remember the other one.
Yep, you're right. One was for help for our Ag Commission, and then the other was for transportation planning for our climate resiliency work.
Exactly. So as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Chairman, if we were in a meeting right now in a physical place, I would just say, pen that, take your pen, put it on a piece of paper for the 2 Harvard requests, as Stacia just indicated, and add those to the list of 1 to 4, make them 5 and 6. If that's acceptable to the chair and the commissioners, that will be perfectly fine for our needs.
That sounds great as far as I'm concerned. If anybody has any questions, or if somebody would like to make that motion, taking the resolution that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission recommends that number 1 and 4 of the above named projects, and also projects as you had said, Glenn, which would be project 5 and 6.
For the town of Harvard.
For the town of Harvard. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry, we were a bit late.
Okay, very good. Who would like to move that?
I move the motion.
Okay, that will be Robert Schwartz. And who do I get a second?
Telepiak, second.
Yeah, John Telepi. It takes a second for your name to come up, John.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I just want to clarify for the record, Stacia, you were great to throw yourself on the train tracks there, but I don't believe that Harvard was tardy.
Yep.
So this was an oversight on our part, and I want to correct this right now. So I want to be clear for the record, especially as it's being recorded. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know that we didn't submit anything in the first 2 rounds, so I just wanted to,
You got in for the third. You were okay.
We got in for the third. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, very good. If there's no other questions, I will call the roll. Okay, I'll start at top of my list. Alan Pease.
Aye.
Lynn Butland.
Aye.
Barbara Yocum.
Aye.
Dean Valeria.
Aye.
I hope I didn't mash that too badly.
Yeah.
Guy Corbett, the chair votes aye. John Telepiak,
Aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Aye.
Matthew Brenner.
Aye.
Okay, Phil Duffy,
Aye.
okay, I'm a little slow here on the, come on. Okay, Robert Schwartz,
Aye.
Roger Hoyt,
Aye.
and Stacy Donahue.
Aye. Thank you.
And that is, the resolution passes unanimously. Okay. Now we're down to Air ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources, DOER. Mass Department of Energy Resources, again, DOER, Affordable Access Regional Coordination, where the acronym is AARC. Health Aging Tufts Momentum Fund. Health Aging Tufts Fund. Massachusetts Department of Transportation, More Rides Planning Project. Massachusetts Department of Transportation, Winchendon Volunteer Driver Planning Project. Then we move on to Community Health Assessment of North Central Massachusetts. Another contract with Hayward Hospital. Sterling Complete Streets. And then, if no questions there, we move into Community Development Division. And it, MEC, Massachusetts Enterprise Center. And just a note there, the executive director will request a meeting of MEC's members of the board of directors prior to the end of the summer. If no questions there, we move on to 6.3 transit. And the MRP staff is working on the following projects. Supportive Transportation Planning Operations, referred to as 3C, which is defined as comprehensive, cooperative, and continuous transportation planning process. And in those, we have Air, Templeton, the city of Fitchburg, and Orange. Our staff is dealing with all of those. And then we have public meetings. The staff met with the MJTC March 10th, April 14th, and other meetings. Then we go down to the technical assistance to MART. Some of those projects are Air Depot Square Pedestrian Plaza, Shirley Station Commuter Parking, Littleton Westford Shuttle, MART Comprehensive Regional Transit Plan Update 2020. Then MART Operation Managers Meeting. Staff attended that. APC route performance. Then we go on to item 3, bus stop ADA accessibility evaluation. That's all George's department. Then we move on to 6.4 transportation. And the under transportation, the Massachusetts Joint Transportation Committee. A little update on the meeting they held. I think we might speak to that a little later in the project, in the program. Massachusetts Metro Planning Organization, the MPO. So a little comment on that. And then the Unified Planning Works Program, FFY 2021. And parts of those are support for 3C, of 3C. Mhm. And number 2 under that is the Unified Planning Works Program. And then this is where we move on to report. Endorsement of the FFY 2022 Unified Planning Works Program. This is an item that needs approval. Does anybody want to speak to this on staff? Or do you want me to just read the resolution?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, Brad, yes, go ahead. Brad Harris.
I can speak quickly on the Unified Planning Work Program. This is our annual document that we put together that outlines what we plan to do and over the next program year, which begins on October 1st. It follows the federal fiscal year. The document lists the tasks and a budget of what we plan to work on. A draft document was put together, and the MPO voted last month to release that for a 21-day public review and comment period. That comment period is ongoing right now, and it ends on May 17th. The NEMJTC, which will be meeting next week on May 12th, we'll talk about the draft document as well as any comments we received to date. We did just receive comments from Mass DOT, so we're looking at those now and seeing how to address those and making sure that they're reflected in the final document. But what we'll do is after those comments are all in and we make the recommended changes, we'll put together a final document and bring it before the MPO this month on May 19th to see if they will vote to endorse the document. And as a signatory of the MPO, the chairman, the resolution is, be it resolved that the MRPC has reviewed the FFY 2022 Unified Planning Work Program, and based upon this review, as well as a review of any comments received to date, authorize its chairman to endorse the FFY 2022 UPWP at an MPO meeting scheduled for Wednesday, May 19th at 1 p.m.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Brad. Do we have any questions in regards to this? I just have to say this has been gone over. It's been on for a couple months, and I think this is the final culmination.
Yes.
Would I have anybody that would like to move the resolution?
Bob Schwartz will move the resolution.
Okay, very good. Do I have a second?
Laura Schifrin, I'll second.
I'll second it.
Okay,
all
I'll
right,
take
either one.
yours, John. You've got a couple. Okay. Okay, so any other questions? If not, I'll call a roll. Stacey Donahue.
Aye.
Roger Hoyt.
Aye.
Robert Schwartz.
Aye.
Phil Duffy.
No.
What was that, Phil? I missed that. Yeah, never mind. Matthew Brenner.
Aye.
Laura Schifrin.
Aye.
John Telepiak.
Aye.
Guy Corbisier, the chair votes aye. Dean Valier.
Valier, aye.
Valier, okay. Don't take me long to forget. Okay, very good. Barbara Yocum.
Aye.
Lynn Butland.
Aye.
Alan Pease.
Aye.
Okay, very good. That's the roll. And if I understood everybody, the resolution passes unanimously. Okay, very good. We'll move on to the next item. We passed that. Now we're on to number 3, Public Information Reporting Participation Program. Now, we move on to development of the TIP. Programs to develop the annual TIP project. Leader, staff, Brian Doherty, Brad Harris, George Snow, Sherry Bean. Now, we have a report here, and we're going to need approval on this one. Endorsement of the FFY 2022-2026 TIP. Who would like to speak to that? Would you, Brad, or?
Yes, I'll talk on that one. As you may recall, this document is our annual transportation improvement program, which lists all federal aid sponsored highway and transit projects for our region, scheduled to be implemented over the next 5 federal fiscal years. It's updated every year based upon the latest information we have on the status of all the projects in our region. We get target funding scenarios for our region for each fiscal year from MassDOT, and we program our projects to that target level in order to develop a fiscally constrained document as required by Federal Highway and MassDOT. This document was reviewed by the MPO at their last meeting in April. They voted to release the document for a 21-day public review and comment period. This comment period runs the same time as the UPWP one and ends on May 17th. The MJTC will be discussing the draft document at their May 12th meeting. They'll also review comments received. And again, as mentioned before, we did receive comments from MassDOT, so we'll be working on those and putting together our responses to those comments. Other than that, the resolution that requires commission action. Jason, you could scroll up just a little. Be it resolved that the MRPC has reviewed the FFY 2022 to 2026 Transportation Improvement Program, and based upon this review, as well as the review of any comments received, authorize its chairman to endorse the FFY 2022 to 2026 TIP at an MPO meeting scheduled for Wednesday, May 19th at 1 p.m. And if you'd like, I can talk about the other resolution that's right below it. It's also TIP related.
Okay, very good. If you'd like to go right ahead.
Okay. At the same time, the last MPO meeting, the Transit Authority brought forth an amendment to the current TIP, which runs from 2021 to 2025. They were focusing strictly on federal fiscal year 2021. They had a number of changes to some project costs, as well as the addition of a project under Section 5307. So it's a reshuffling of some money by MART under different program categories and the addition of another project based upon their available dollars. They received different bid amounts that caused them to need to make some changes. So the document was put out for review by the MPO. It's gone out for public comment period, again, running the same time frame as the TIP and the UPWP. To date, we have not received any comments on the draft TIP amendment. As again, the MJTC will review the draft amendment at the next meeting and will also make a recommendation to the MPO. So the resolution on this one is be resolved that the MRPC has reviewed the draft amendment number 3 to the FFY 2021 to 2025 Transportation Improvement Program. And based upon this review, as well as a review of any comments received, authorize its chairman to endorse the amendment number 3 to the FFY 2021 to 2025 TIP at an MPO meeting scheduled for Wednesday, May 19th at 1 p.m.
Okay, do I have any questions for Brad? If not, I would entertain a motion to move both resolutions, or if you're not comfortable with both, one or the other.
Bob Schwartz, I move both resolutions as presented.
Okay, very good. Do I have a second?
if it's acceptable to vote on the both of them together, I would second that.
Okay, is there any, I think there is, but is there any comment towards John's comment? Not hearing any, then we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion on this? If not, I'll call the roll. Alan P.
Aye.
Lynn Butland,
Aye.
Barbara Yocum,
Aye.
Dean Valier,
Aye.
Guy Corbett, the chair votes aye. John Telepiak,
Aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Aye.
Linda Quinn, no, I'm sorry, Matthew Brenner,
Aye.
Phil Duffy.
No.
Okay, very good. Robert Schwartz,
Aye.
Roger Hoyt,
Aye.
Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
Okay, and the resolutions are passed. I don't have the exact number of ayes, but with one no. So it's not passed, there is one no. Oh, very good. We'll move on to the next one. Number 5. On number 5, environmental justice in Title 6. Number 6, regional demographics and model. 7, GIS mapping and analysis. 8, data collection and analysis program. Pavement management systems. 10, intersection analysis. 11, walkability study. 12, Fitchburg corridor study. 13, regional pedestrian plan. 14, ADA PROW database. 15, roundabout and the MRPC region. Athol pavement and sidewalk database. These are all projects, and that brings us to the end of the status report. Not too bad. We're about a half hour behind schedule, but do we have any new business that anybody would like to bring before the commission? Not hearing any. We have time. If there's any other questions by anybody else, otherwise I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, that was Roger. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay, very good. John Telepiak. And if there is no objection, I will call this meeting adjourned at 8:35.